Again about this, thanks again for tuning into yet another video. Infamous, coming at you live from the West Coast yet again, San Jose, California. So we are test riding the Sport Chief here. This is the competitor to the keep going. So I am currently still sick. Let's go ahead and put that in neutral. So yet again, starting from scratch, this is the 2023-2024 Sport Chief. So this is the direct competitor of the Lowrider S. Let's see what this guy has to say.
Morning.
Morning.
So he's your leader. I'll be following you on the Spider. And if there's any kind of problems where you're feeling like, yeah, I don't want to do this, just go ahead and pull over. I'll give you a ride back to the shop.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so back onto the competitor of the Lowrider S. Of course, the Lowrider S now has a 117. So that's something to note, since this has the 116. So when the Thunderstroke was released, it was a 116, a little bigger displacement compared to the 114. But of course, you know, competition and everything else, Harley-Davidson went ahead and manufactured their specials with the well, some of them, the STs and the S, they manufactured the specials with the 117. So anyways, we got obviously a new fairing on this. You guys can see that. This is the quarter fairing on the Sport Chief. You also have a few details, you know, different from the basic lineup, which is the inverted forks, improved suspension, and you also have dual disc brakes, Brembo, I might add, brakes on this, discs. So it's got some improvements, and overall for the price, and I've already made a bunch of videos on this, this is honestly a better deal than the Lowrider S, spec wise. As far as ABS standard, you don't have that on the Lowrider S anymore. They took that out of the manufacturing in I believe 2021. Was it? Yeah, I think it was 2021, 2022. They stopped manufacturing a lot of the Softails with ABS. Man, this pipe is hot. I can feel it on my calf. I'm not even close to it, but anyways, I believe this has ABS standard. You guys can look at the spec sheet right here. 120 foot-pounds of torque, quite impressive. 116. You also have the riding modes, another great feature as well. I don't know if you have cruise control on this, but so far the bike's handling like it should. I thought the risers are going to be a little bit taller, but I mean, it is a sport bike. You do want to be over the fuel tank. I can understand that, but man, I just feel awkward on this. I have 17-inch bars on my Sportster, and I have 15-inch bars on my Lowrider S. So it's just, you know, being hunched over like this, it's a little bizarre. I don't think most of their bikes are like this. Yeah, I thought the risers would make a little bit more of a difference, but I think this is probably a low bend bar, or maybe it is a mid bend. It's kind of tough to kind of, you know, see it from this angle, but basically low bend meaning 1.5 rise, mid bend meaning 2.5 on the rise, and high bend meaning 3.5 3.5 inches of rise. I believe this looks like it's a mid bend. So, you know, rider position, it's kind of aggressive. You do have the mid controls on the Sport Chief, because I mean, it's a Sport Chief. You gotta have your knees on the fuel tank. You gotta have good control on the bike. it's you know, it's pretty quiet as it sits, but the rider position, like I said, it's not really a relaxed feel like on, you know, some of the other bikes. All right, my triangle is, like I said, hunched forward a little bit, but you know, it's overall, it's pretty comfortable. I'm actually surprised how well the fairing is doing. I'm surprised how well the fairing is doing as far as wind control, wind noise. Well, who knows? I mean, we haven't really taken it up to speed, so we'll probably find out in a little bit. But so far, the fairing's actually doing what it's supposed to do. I'm surprised. It's probably the angle of the windshield and how it sits. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of the way it looks, but you know, it's nice that that they're doing something different than you know, what we typically see. So it's a cool little design Indian has here. The bike feels pretty light, like always, like most of the engineering on these Indian motorcycles. The center weight of gravity on these bikes is impressive. You get on a Harley and you know, it doesn't feel quite the same. I'm not sure why we're turning lanes here. Oh, okay, there's some construction going on up front. So far so good. The feel of the bike, not a lot of vibration, not a lot, minimal vibration. You know, if you're looking for that Harley feel, then you know, most of the Harleys don't even have that anymore. Right? I have a Sportster that I think shakes like a like nothing else. It shakes quite a bit, and then that shake amplifies with the 17-inch bars that I have. So it's got a lot of shake. That's of course your classic Evo bike. So we're gonna just lean into this curve. Man, this thing is nimble. All right, it's nimble. It's got the same brake as the lowrider is, 28 degrees. I believe it has the same wheelbase as well. But man, this thing, it just feels light. Man, I'm just always impressed when I get back on an Indian motorcycle how well the bike handles compared to, you know, compared to a Harley. And a lot of the people that come out here with Harleys mention, you know, something similar along the lines of, hey man, the suspension's actually really good in these bikes. The performance, the throttle response, everything. So you always have to get, you know, used to the friction zone on a new bike. So it's good that, you know, they're taking us on these back streets so we can kind of get familiar with the overall feel of the bike. But it does get, you know, it does take a little bit getting used to when you're on a different bike. So if you stall it out, don't worry about it. You know, keep calm and just turn it back on and keep on riding. So let's go ahead and put her in sport mode. I already know what to expect. If you've never ridden sorry guys, my throat is bugging. If you've never ridden one of these bikes in sport mode, you have to be cautious. Alright, you have to be cautious. These bikes are aggressive in sport mode, okay? I can already feel it, man. Oh man, that's just, I just can't get used to how responsive this thing is in sport mode. I've already made number amount of videos on the riding modes on these bikes. You know, the tour mode, which is basically your rain mode, your standard, and your sport. I know it doesn't do anything to the engine. Like, it's not anything to do with the engine wise or mechanically or anything like that. It's all in the throttle response. This is a throttle by wire throttle. That's what that is, okay? So it's just the sensor going to your throttle body, and what you're actually doing when you put it in sport mode, you're just reducing that lag and you're increasing that response, that sensitivity. So I already mentioned in a number of other videos, when I hold this at, you know, 5% or 10%, the throttle body responds at 20%. So that's, you know, that's what's going on with that. You have just the response is altered by, of course, the ECU, and it just, you know, it gives you a quicker response, and it's a noticeable response when you're on it. So you always, I always warn people, when you put this thing in sport mode, you really have to be cautious. You will you will fall off the bike if you're not if you're not careful. Oh man, that is just that sport mode it's no joke. All right, I've ridden it on the Pursuit, on the other Chiefs, on the Bobbers, on the Challenger, on the Springfield, on just, you know, I've ridden all the bikes. All right, I've test ridden all the models. This is my fourth year coming to these events. So man, when you kick that thing in sport mode, it's just really impressive. So that's why I like the riding modes. It's just me. I know a lot of people don't. A lot of people think it's a gimmick or whatever, but man, I think you really have to try it out. You really have to get on these bikes and just try it out for yourself. And I believe the riding modes, it's going to change the way, how you feel about them. So back onto the bike. So this one, of course, with the stealth gray, which is the gunship gray, looks to be about $19,499. Man, did this price increase? I think the price went up. So it looks like the price went up by $1,000 compared to last year. I'm not entirely sure. So here's all the features. Of course, you have the club style fairing, which has been impressive. We're going to take it on the highway right now. Moto style bars, 6-inch risers. That's why I'm just a little confused that these handlebars are taller than the Lowrider S. But oh man, maybe it's because I just can't. Man, this sport mode is nuts, guys. All right, I feel like I'm gonna just come off the back of this bike. I just installed the stage 2 on my Lowrider S. I think, just off the initial, man, it's still very impressive. I have a stage 2, I have a 475 in my bike. I also have an additional, I believe an additional 60 pounds on my bike, on my Lowrider S, because I have the FX3 fairing, and I also have the saddlebags. So anyways, where were we? Oh yeah, the 6-inch risers with the moto style bars. I mean, this should be, where's this guy going? This should be 6-inch risers with the Moto Star. This should be at 7 inches overall, but they just don't feel that tall to me. I don't know what it is. Don't know what it is. Maybe it's just me, but these don't feel like they're 7-inch bars. And of course, we have a 4-gallon tank. That's like one of the cons, I think, to this is the fuel tank on this. It's a 4-gallon tank, and they still haven't upped it up to a 5-gallon tank. And I even believe their Super Chief, which is the competitor of the Heritage, also just has a 4-gallon tank. So let's give it some gas. What gear are we in? Oh wow, I'm going pretty fast. Man, this thing just wants to go in sport mode. Okay, it just wants to go. I don't know what gear I'm in. I believe I'm still in 5th, and this thing is just cruising. It's just cruising in 5th. The wind control, it's pretty impressive, guys. I'm not gonna lie. This fairing, where I'm at, I'm not getting a lot of wind resistance. No buffeting, a little bit of wind noise, but man, this is actually quite impressive. So back onto the fuel tank, 4-gallon tank, of course. If anything, that's a little bit of a con in my book. But I mean, if you're riding this thing, just from experience on cruising on my Sportster with a smaller fairing or with no fairing, I would say, you know what, it might be okay, because every time you have to refuel, you're pretty much ready for a break. If you're in your 30s, maybe, you know, late 30s like myself, you're pretty much ready to just to stop, take a break, refuel the tank. I don't know, you guys let me know in the comments, what do you guys think? It's a 4-gallon tank a deal breaker for you guys? I think it would be for me. I think a 4-gallon tank would be a deal breaker for me, but that's just me, all right? But like I said, if you're riding with this frame, I don't feel much wind, but you know, after 100 miles, you know, you might be ready for a break. So let's go ahead and move on down to the piggyback shots on this thing. Another impressive feature. A lot of the stuff you guys don't realize, a lot of the stuff that that you would want on your lowrider S, you would have to pay additional for a lot of this stuff. So we'll see what happens with the riding modes. We know that Harley just released the CVO, and it's got riding modes. It's got the VVT, of course. I believe Indians also due to release a VVT. They patented a VVT system back in 2019, but you know, Harley just beat them to it. So man, just, you know, the suspension's great. I'm really happy with the overall feel of the Sport Chief. The suspension, the handling, very impressive. The performance in sport mode, you know, I am impressed. The fairing, you know, even though it's hideous in my opinion, it's an ugly fairing, but man, this thing really you know, did the job. I didn't get much buffeting. If you guys seen some of my other videos, my helmet's basically coming off on some of the other demo rides, but of course I'm also doing, you know, triple digits. I'm not doing you know, 70 or 80 or whatever. So it's just the overall look of the bike. You know, I like it. I like the wheels. Aesthetically, the overall style, I really like the risers as well. You know, they're not that tube design risers. They're a little bit more modern. It's got that nice clamp area on the bars. You guys can see the badging. It's really quite nice. Just hit a little pothole there, and the bike handled it like a champ. I'm impressed. I like the bike. I like the bike. Alright, so I guess that's it for the Sport Chief. We are going to have to, of course... Oh! Took a wide turn there. Let's go ahead and back her up. The display is nice too. I mean, I've seen the display quite a few times. Here, just get a little bit better. The pipes are the pipes are hot. I can feel it on my calf. All right, so there is the bike. We're in neutral. Shut that off. And do I have to turn this off to turn off? Oh yeah, you do. Okay, so we are gonna lay that down there. The key fob, you can see it right here. Indian Chief Sport. Man, that is nice. Fox. Inverted forks, dual disc brakes. The wheels are really impressive too as well, man. I'm a big fan of the wheels. There's a few features that you don't have on... I think the one thing that you don't have on this that you do have on the lowrider is the oil cooler. Alright, so let's get on with some more test rides. Of course, you also have the full LEDs on this bike. You don't have to, you know, buy that upgrade, but you have turn signals, LEDs, front and back, piggyback shocks, riding modes. You have a 116, a lot of torque, riding modes. 4-gallon tank, that's the only drawback, but man, I really like the risers. I like the overall look of them. You could also even upgrade these through their website as well. You have the mid controls. You know, this thing feels sporty, feels great. Chopped fender, of course. I think they all have the chopped fender, but man, this is I like the seat as well. It's really nice. All right, let's keep on test riding these bikes. Stay tuned for more test rides.